going to take everything you have.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another of my Marvel film reviews. Today I'm taking a look at the 2015 Marvel reboot, I suppose, Fantastic Four. The film is directed by Josh Trank and it stars Miles Teller, Kate Mara, Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Bell and Toby Kebbell. Right, okay. So this is another retelling of the Fantastic Four. We've got Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm. And we meet a young Reed Richards experimenting in school, doing his science projects. His talent is recognised. He gets a full scholarship. He gets to work at the Baxter Building. And he is basically creating interdimensional travel, and he's figured out how to do it. Basically, he's figured out the final piece of that puzzle. So they get him to work at the Baxter Building. He works alongside Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Victor Von Doom. They figure it out, and they've got everything ready to go. And they decide that they're going to be the first ones who are going to test out this interdimensional travel rather than some, astronaut or whatever. They're the ones that have done the hard work. So they end up with Ben Grimm, Reed Richards' childhood friend, going across into this interdimensional world. Disaster happens. They lose Victor Von Doom along the way, and they manage to just make it back, but they are obviously drastically changed physically. They all now have superpowers. Reed Richards basically does one, goes into hiding for a year. They force Ben Grimm to work for the military, and they're about to do the same to Johnny Storm, but they bring Reed back into the fold. They figure out some more interdimensional stuff, and it puts them in direct confrontation with Victor Von Doom, who they thought had died a year previously. Right. What are my thoughts on Fantastic Four? Well, I had never seen this one before. Now, recently on the channel, I reviewed the 2005 Fantastic Four film and the 2007 Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. Both of those films, I think, are entertaining, if flawed, films. I think that, they're fun, family, entertaining superhero films. They wouldn't fly today, really, and even at the time they were fairly criticised. But I personally think they're very, very watchable in a lot of ways, anyway. Even though they do make errors with it. But essentially, 20th Century Fox, they had the rights to the Fantastic Four. And they had to basically release a film within 7 years of Rise of the Silver Surfer, or the rights would revert back to Marvel. And they didn't want that to happen. So what do? They put this into production. Now, Josh Trank, up to this point, was a talented up-and-comer. However, he got swallowed up by the studio process, I suppose. They didn't like his vision, they didn't like what he was doing with it, so they got involved, basically, practically remade the whole bloody thing. And what we got, essentially, shut out at the end, was a very confused film. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I think this film is an absolute shit show, because I don't believe that. I do think there are some moments in this film that were very interesting. It's a very dark approach to telling a superhero story. It almost veers into body horror stroke horror at times, this film. So I kind of appreciate what Josh Trank was trying to do. A different take on a superhero film. A bit darker, a much darker tone. But it just didn't work. Now, I don't know what you can tell, obviously, where some of the reshoots are, because, for example, Kate Mara's hair drastically changes in some scenes. You know, she's got clearly a blonde wig on in some scenes. And Miles Teller has got facial hair in some scenes and not in others. You know what I mean? When he should clearly have it. So the reshoots are painfully obvious, and do nothing for the film really. And if you actually watch the trailer, which I obviously did to kind of put this review together, if you know my content, you know I kind of put clips of trailers and the film in my reviews. And after watching the film and seeing the trailer portrays a very, very different film. There's things in the trailer, quite a lot of things in the trailer, that look vastly different than what we got in the film. There's things in the trailer that just aren't simply in the film, and they looked cool. Now, some of the research I've done basically suggests that the studio felt the film was too violent, and they wanted to kind of make it more family friendly, I guess. But I suspect a lot of what they cut, obviously, quite a few action stuff as well, apparently, that maybe they thought were too violent. So, but it's very, very patchy, this film. Very odd. It doesn't feel to have any... it doesn't flow well at all. It's definitely a film that feels like it's been sewn together like some kind of patch quilt thing. It just doesn't work as a movie. You don't connect with the characters at all, really. And I do feel a little bit for Josh Trank, because I don't actually know what he's done since this thing. Did he do... Yeah, he did the Capone thing, which I actually, while that got slated, I actually thought that was quite good. The Capone film with Tom Hardy, that was a very personal film. Obviously him trying to cleanse himself of his Hollywood experience, probably. But his reputation was left in tatters after this film. He did go on a little bit of a... I don't know what you want to call it. He had a bit of a tantrum on Twitter or social media about, what his thoughts on the studio involvement, and the fact that the film that he had, the vision that he had, were, if he'd have been allowed to share that with everybody, there would have been, I think it would have been a much better film, and with better reviews. So I mean, yeah, it's not great, this, but like many of the films that I have watched on this channel that have got bad reputations or been critically mauled or not well received by audiences, do I think this is completely irredeemable? No, I don't. There are some moments in the film that I thought had been done well. I thought the effects, for the most part, were decent. I thought, some of the ideas here were good. I mean, again, they absolutely buggered up Victor Von Doom. Once again here, I really hope that this new Fantastic Four film that we're getting this year, they actually deliver on Doom. But, are we going to get Doom in that one? I'm not actually sure if we are. I know he's obviously turning up in the next Avengers films. But yeah, I do think it's a bit of a shame, this one. I mean, even it tells you everything when Stan Lee even declines to do a cameo. So even he knew this wasn't the Fantastic Four that he recognised. So he's kind of like, no, I'm all right, thanks, I don't want to do it. So, yeah. If you've never seen it, it's worth watching for curiosity reasons. It's not one of those films you're going to finish at the end and kind of say to yourself, what on earth was that pile of poo-poo? It's not one of those kind of films, but also at the same time, you're not going to turn it off and think, wow, I really like that vision. I really like that creative thought processes that have gone into this film. It's it feels like it's got like 30% of the director's vision in it, and 70% of, you know, studio interference, and they just don't gel at all. It doesn't. None of it combines to make a cohesive, entertaining, and fun film. And that's a big thing you take away from this film. It doesn't feel fun. You're supposed to feel. You know, you're supposed to be entertained and have a lot of fun watching a superhero film, and you just don't really get that with this. So, yeah, it definitely is not great. Nowhere near as good as the previous Fantastic Four films. And let's see what the new Fantastic Four film this year brings us. Hopefully, it is going to be an absolute belter. So, thanks for joining me, guys.